The Curse of Hatred, as well as the Uchiha Clan, really gives us a look into Indra Otsutsuki's personality. Not exactly the Cain and Abel story we sometimes see it as. Well, actually it's exactly like Cain and Abel, but the point is it had to do with so much more than being called the Sage of Six Paths and the new head of Ninshu. Indra's personality is far more complex. Prideful, yes. Eventually filled with hate towards his brother and father, yes. But at his core, the very reason why Indra wanted the title of Sage of Six Paths at all was due to feelings of rejection. Indra couldn't see the full picture, and in years following, even Hagoromo would come to regret his decision of choosing one son over the other, coming to realize that the reason that Indra lashed out was due to feeling left out, ignored, pushing himself to be the strongest, to be perfect, which would then be swept aside by Hagoromo. For a time, Indra said nothing, attempting to respect that decision, but Zetsu himself had swept into Indra's life to interpret the situation for him. They say that one of the greatest tools the devil uses to deceive others is to interpret something for them, to take the truth and focus it through a new lens to twist its meaning until the truth becomes hazy. And this was what happened to Indra. It's what led to the Curse of Hatred. But in this little world we've crafted, our own Limited Tsukuyomi, Hagoromo witnessed the value of both of his sons and granted them both a title fitting them, to which Indra's heart never felt the dejection of rejection, but acceptance and love. This leads to the Senju and Uchiha clans being surprisingly close during the Warring States period, and this further led to Naruto and Sasuke's relationship being close, mirroring the relationship of Indra and Asura. One of two brothers, so close, yet polar opposites. But in a world as imperfect as this, and in a world where Zetsu continues to scheme, searching for a way to resurrect his creator, how will he manipulate events in his favor? I suppose we're just gonna have to sit back and see now, won't we? Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. We've noticed that a lot of people who are watching these videos aren't subscribed to the channel, and you know what? You might think that you are subscribed, considering how YouTube's algorithm works. But if you do subscribe to us, it really helps our channel and lets us make even more awesome videos like this. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. Sasuke was kneeling beside his bed, leaning on it for support. The ringed eyes within his sockets, each possessing 6 tomoe each when at the height of his power. He wiped the saliva from his lip on his sleeve. The awakening had been strenuous and painful, but now he felt such power coursing through his veins, and his head was just trying to catch up, processing all this information. It was then that Fugaku rushed in, Makoto standing by the doorframe. Fugaku helped Sasuke back into bed. "Son, what happened? Are you alright?" Sasuke looked to his father. I don't know. I think so. Fugaku saw the eyes and recoiled slightly. In response, Sasuke recoiled. "What is it?" he asked his father in terror. Fugaku came close to look at them. "Is that..." Sasuke blinked, and within that short frame of time, his Rinnegan had reverted back to the original eyes he had. Rinnegan. Sasuke was confused. Rinne? Fugaku was astounded. How is this possible? This legendary dojutsu was said to only be possessed by the sage. Fugaku thought about it, remembering what little of the Uchiha stone tablet he'd been able to read. This dojutsu was a powerful one, but it had implications and marked Sasuke as something truly special. Itachi lingered by the door, behind Makoto, silently. Was it possible? Was Sasuke the reincarnation of the Sage of Six Paths? Fugaku looked at Sasuke's prosthetic arm and couldn't help but feel that maybe this had something to do with it. The mixing of Indra's chakra with Ashura's, creating Hagoromo's, just as the tablet had said. If this arm had something to do with it, then the odds were astronomical. This would peg Hashirama Senju as a reincarnate of Ashura, and Sasuke as a reincarnate of Indra. Fugaku smiled, his chest swelling with pride in his child and their potential. "It's all okay, Sasuke. Don't be afraid. You've awakened something truly special because of your potential." He hugged his son. "This makes me proud of you beyond measure." He laid Sasuke down in his bed and covered him up. "Now get some rest. We'll talk more tomorrow about this." And so Sasuke would fall asleep as best he could while Fugaku would leave to talk more about this new power with Makoto and Itachi, as well as the implications and meaning behind it. The day after, Sasuke woke up in the morning and crawled out of bed. Making it downstairs, he had breakfast. It was then that Makoto explained to him that his father was waiting for him at the shrine by the Naka River. Sasuke would finish his breakfast before grabbing his shoes and making his way out to meet him. Entering the shrine, he would see the tablet there and Fugaku standing by it. Fugaku would turn around, his Mangekyo Sharingan active, and invite Sasuke in. Sasuke was surprised. He had never known his father had awakened the Mangekyo before. "Father, your eyes." Fugaku smiled. "A physical representation of the scars I brought home with me from the Third Shinobi World War. I don't want many people to know that I have it unless it's required." Sasuke came closer and looked at the tablet. It seemed like gibberish. "What is this?" he asked. Fugaku would begin explaining. "This is an artifact left behind for us by the Sage of Six Paths." Sasuke looked closer. "What language is it?" Fugaku shook his head. "We don't know. It matches no known languages and our ability to decipher it is limited. Only those possessing the Sharingan can read what it says." Sasuke awakens his Sharingan to read it, but could only read a part. "It's mostly gibberish." Fugaku let off a chuckle. "That's because the cipher is deciphered more and more depending on how strong your Sharingan is. The Mangekyo Sharingan can read up to 2/3, but that's it." Sasuke looked back at him. "What does it say?" Fugaku begins to tell him. "It speaks of the Rinnegan and how it will save the Uchiha Clan. How it is created by Six Paths Chakra. How the mixture of Indra's Chakra and Asura's Chakra can awaken within one possessing the Sharingan, the originator of all Sharingan, the Rinnegan." He kneels next to his son. "The third and final piece of the tablet has not been read since ancient times, since the sage left this world. It can only be read by a Rinnegan. And now, after a millennium of waiting, the knowledge it possesses will be bestowed upon our clan. You, with your Rinnegan, can read it." He stood Sasuke up and pulled him back away from the tablet. There Fugaku stood, above Sasuke, his arms draped around his son like the fasteners of a cape. "If you're so inclined, my son, read the tablet for me." Sasuke took a deep breath, feeling the pressure. He closed his eyes and focused. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and his Rinnegan were activated. He read through it. "It speaks of the tailed beasts as the treasures of the Sage of Six Paths, and how, when united within the demonic statue of the Outer Path, a new creature is born. The Ten Tails, the ultimate Genjutsu, the illusion to surpass all illusions, the infinite Tsukuyomi." Fugaku was speechless. When he finally managed to say something, all he truly could get out was, "Incredible. Truly incredible." Sasuke stood there staring at the stone, the symbol of the Sage of Six Paths at the top. Sasuke thought on these things and began to wonder if his life had some grand purpose predetermined for him prior to his birth. A mission. What was it though? From there, Fugaku, with his knowledge of the Rinnegan, which to his admission was somewhat lacking, proceeded to help Sasuke train. He advised Sasuke that he would already know within his heart what the truth was and what his powers were. He just needed to coax them out. And so Sasuke began to make use of the paths of the Rinne. But all the while, the world did not stop spinning just because Sasuke attained a blessing. Far from it. Zetsu continued to work tirelessly. The world was his shogi board, and Sasuke was but one piece to move. There were other pieces, and properly aligning them against one's opposition was the only way to check his adversaries. And this meant that he needed to set things up for the next step in his plan. Slowly, one by one, Zetsu went about tracking down the Jinchuriki of the various tailed beasts, killing each one. With the deaths of these Jinchuriki, what started out as perhaps one accident and then two coincidences continued until it became known to be a targeted assault. Now, all Jinchuriki were dead. All save one. Kushina Uzumaki was at her home, going about her daily chores. As the wife of the 5th Hokage, Minato Namikaze, and don't forget, dear viewers, Minato is the 5th currently, as we made Madara a Hokage as well in this world. And as the mother of an esteemed shinobi, their daily lives left them little time to do much of anything but work, and Kushina, though retired from her position as a true shinobi and left on reserves due to her tailed beast, was required to remain home and properly care for it. But this was no burden to her. She was a wife and mother, and this was her pleasure. To ensure her beloved boys were well taken care of, fed, and looked after. An expression of love in every act she performed. But such a wonderful life would soon come crashing down. The eyes of a roaring lion were upon her, hungry eyes, seeking to devour her. Black Zetsu had been searching for the proper moment. News of what had been happening to the tailed beasts had not yet reached Konoha. Konoha was isolated from other shinobi nations. This was mostly due to jealousy for how prosperous they were. They were just so powerful that they made many enemies along the way. And now, remaining hatred left over from the Third Shinobi World War had left the other rival shinobi nations in a fend-for-yourself mentality. At worst, some nations were seeking a reason to pin blame on Konoha in hopes of turning the world against Konoha and destroying them. And that was exactly what Zetsu wanted. That's why Zetsu left Kushina for last, to make it look convincing. Not that it truly mattered with what he had planned for the future. But all the same, a good base was profitable for him and his plan. Zetsu, with all the quietness of a cat, made his way into the home, pressing through cracks in the windows with his pliable and gelatinous body. He would reform, standing as a black mass in the center of the Namikaze family living room, like some shadow figure or demonic entity intent on haunting this location. His golden eyes, the only feature one could make out of his face save his ungodly-looking smile, which went from ear to ear in an inhuman fashion. He slowly and quietly made his way in, where he produced a kunai. From the back, he knew exactly where to stab. Few people ever really considered the back while stabbing someone in the heart, but anywhere that the heart could be perforated was a target, and he knew that he could kill her now with one simple movement. But as he went to stab her, his kunai got caught on a frying pan. In confusion and fear, he looked up at Kushina to see that her eyes had gone blank, as if possessed by a devil, and her teeth had become razor-sharp saw blades, 3 black marks passing over each cheek as a deep crimson aura began to bubble over her flesh. Zetsu did not have any internal organs, nor did he have bowels or a bladder, but if he did, he would currently be defecating himself. She pushed him back with incredible force, knocking him back into the living quarters. Her hair began to rise and snap about like some sort of gorgon from ancient myth. Her frying pan firmly in hand, she was about to show this beast why normal cookware could and would be more efficient as a weapon than the trowel of a blade that the kunai was originally planned to be. She swung her weapon at him with all of her might, putting the full weight of her body behind it. Zetsu narrowly dodged it as her pan struck the television set, shattering the screen and warping the shell, the internal mechanisms spilling out, broken beyond repair. She turned again, each step sure and full of motivation. Zetsu had not found such a feisty spirit in a single one of the other Jinchuriki, not like this one. Her strength and ferocity were unmatched, but then again, she was the host of the Nine Tails. She continued her assault. Zetsu, in all of his years of training, sidestepped her attacks, hoping to take advantage of her ham-fisted movements, but her speed was on another level. One step on a comically placed banana peel was all it took for Zetsu to hit the ground. Immediately she was on top of him, her frying pan swinging, striking him in the face over and over, threatening to knock out every tooth, cave every part of his head. For a moment, Zetsu almost forgot that his form was malleable, and in a moment of terror spawned a tree from his torso which pierced clean through Kushina's stomach. She coughed up blood, her pupils staring down at this now smiling black shadow until she lost the struggle to hold on. He dissolved the tree and proceeded to push her off of him. He stood and looked down. He knelt to ensure that she had no pulse, and of course she didn't. "And that's the last one. Time for the next phase of my plan." Zetsu stood and laughed. It wasn't much longer thereafter that Sasuke and Naruto were on their way back from training and planned to stop in at Naruto's home to eat lunch. It was then that Naruto laid eyes on the scene. He rushed in toward his mother. "Mom!" he cried out. He saw the blood and the massive gaping wound in her abdomen. His tears began to spill over. "Mom!" he cried a second time, as if his voice might guide his mother's spirit back to them. But she was gone. Nothing he did could change that. Sasuke knelt down beside him and looked the scene over. He wrapped his arms around Naruto's head, pulling it into his embrace to hide his eyes from this. He didn't think Naruto should continue to look at the scene. It wasn't much longer after this that Fugaku appeared, having been called by Sasuke. Naruto sat on the steps of his home, his tear-stained face devoid of emotion, his gaze unchanging, as if he were focusing on something happening 1,000 miles away. Yet the only thing he looked at was the wall no more than 20 feet from where he sat. Fugaku looked at Sasuke, who looked up at his father and shook his head. Fugaku stepped in and saw the scene. He pulled his hands down across his face, as if unsure what to say or even think. As head of the Uchiha Clan, as well as chief of police, Fugaku had to call this in. They would send a team out to the residence at once. Minato would also make his way to the scene after hearing about it, his heart racing, hoping that somehow the body wasn't one of his family. He saw Naruto sitting outside on the steps with Sasuke, Fugaku kneeling in front of them. Naruto seemed to be responding to Fugaku at least. Minato was relieved to see that Naruto was okay, but then his heart sank as he knew what this meant. He stepped into the home and looked around. He saw the tape outlining a body. He would know Kushina's silhouette anywhere. He fell to his knees. Kushina. Kushina, he repeated in a breathy manner. Fugaku stepped in after seeing Minato go in. That was my wife, he cried out, seeing the blood spilled on the floor. That was my wife. He cried into Fugaku's shoulder, to which the man gently pat his back. Let's step outside. He pulled him out into the cool of the afternoon, the sun setting and taking with it the warmth it provided. And now the world was cold. But even if the sun were still out, the world would remain frigid, like a lifeless corpse devoid of any reason to continue existing. Naruto would stand and approach his father. Fugaku would whisper to Minato, your son was the one who found her. He saw it all. He needs you now, Lord Fifth. Minato looked to his son and took him up in his arms. Sasuke sat there, his fingers crossed, his chin resting on his thumbs. His eyes spoke as if he desired to commit a murder of his own. A revenge killing on who would ever do this to his beloved brother and the fifth Hokage. Fugaku knelt down. Are you okay, Sasuke? Sasuke nodded. Yeah, it's just hard to believe that this would happen. Who would want to kill Lady Kushina? She was such a nice woman. Fugaku sighed as he sat down. This likely had to do with her tailed beast. It was either a hate crime against her for harboring the Ninetales, or it was someone hoping to take her tailed beast. As it stands, the Ninetales is currently unaccounted for. What happened to him is a mystery now too. Sasuke sighed as he listened. So this could not only be the murder of a wonderful woman, but a declaration of war. And indeed it was, but not as Sasuke had believed it to be. It was at this time that Black Zetsu was making his move. He made his way to the Land of Snow. Currently there was a facility there that was being run by a certain group, one that was led by a man Zetsu knew little of but was told much. But that did not matter to him right now. What mattered was what was at that facility. There were 2 pods in storage, and within those pods were 2 creatures. What looked to be human. One old, the other young. But Zetsu only had use for one of them right now. Taking the girl out of stasis, he would cover her body like a black suit, taking complete control over her before she could even understand what was happening. But he didn't need the whole person. Only one thing, their dojutsu, the Senrigan. He needed it for but a moment. Taking full control of her body, he utilized her Senrigan's ability to cast omnipotence. He cast it across the entire world save for 2 people, Naruto and Sasuke. The spell he cast over the world would convince them that the deaths of the various Jinchuriki were a purposeful act, and that the person who killed them was Naruto. His secret hatred for the world system, in which he felt he could never become much of anything, caused him to cast the world into disorder, to destroy and do away with shinobi villages. And on those outside of Konoha, he cast the Genjutsu so that they would believe him to be possibly acting under Konoha's order. As the day went along, Naruto and Sasuke had set out to Ichiraku for a pick-me-up. Naruto, for the first time in his life, denied a bowl of Teuchi's special-made ramen. It was obvious that he was depressed. And why wouldn't he be? He had just witnessed his mother killed. They suddenly saw a flash of light in the sky. It was then that a group of Anbu agents stepped in. Naruto Uzumaki, one of them said. Naruto turned around to look at him. The agent then pulled out handcuffs and placed them on Naruto's hands, much to his surprise. The agent then spoke. You are hereby under arrest for the murder of Kushina Uzumaki, as well as treason to the village. Sasuke stood up. What? That's impossible. Let him go this instant. The Anbu agent removed his mask to show it was Itachi beneath it. I'm sorry, Sasuke. I know he's your friend, but he's to be interrogated for the murder of the world's Jinchuriki. They began to take him away. Sasuke attempted to step in the way, but Itachi cast Tsukuyomi on Sasuke to keep him out of the way. Naruto sat by a table, handcuffed. Confusion on his face, he sat there quietly, eyes looking as if they were about to cry. Fugaku stood there by the door, reading through a file. He stepped forward and put it down on the table. Eyewitness reports put you at the scene of every Jinchuriki's death throughout the shinobi world. I suppose you have a story for this? Naruto was startled. I didn't do it. Fugaku squeezed his tear ducts. Please, tell me you have an alibi, Naruto. Naruto thought for a moment. I was on a mission. Ask Team 7. Ask Yamato, Sasuke, and Sakura. Fugaku sighed. We have, and Yamato says that you disappeared on him for much of that mission. Sakura hardly remembers you being on the mission at all. If anything, their testimony is damning against you, not an alibi. Fugaku stood there in silence. Naruto, you don't know how much trouble you're in. It was then that Minato stepped into the room. Naruto called out to him, Dad, tell Mr. Fugaku that I didn't do anything wrong. Minato looked at his son with the scars of betrayal written all over his face. Naruto, how could you kill her? How could you kill the woman who gave you life? Naruto was shocked. Dad, come on. Don't tell me you believe this. Minato walked over. What choice do I have but to believe this? When Fugaku found you, you were covered in your mother's blood. That's because I was trying to save her. Fugaku slammed the table with his fist. Then how come you're covered in bruises? How come you're covered in defense wounds? Naruto was aghast. I was training with Sasuke, he'll tell you. Fugaku cinched his fists. Sasuke loves you too much. If you had done these things, he wouldn't have ratted you out. He would have kept it quiet. I can't trust his testimony. Not when so many stand against you. You have to be honest, Naruto. Just admit it. Tell us why. Naruto grew angry. I didn't do it. He stood there, breathing heavily, tears streaming down his cheeks. I didn't kill her. I didn't kill Mom. I wouldn't kill her. I loved her. I'm not a traitor. I would have died for her and the village. Well, now you're going to have to, Fugaku said. Naruto looked at him with clear confusion on his face. Fugaku let Minato explain. The other shinobi nations blame you for the deaths of their Jinchuriki. They think it was a plot by Konoha to destabilize the world. They think we're doing this as a preemptive strike against them. The fourth shinobi world war is on the horizon and we can't stop it. They say the only way we can prove we had nothing to do with this is a blood payment. They want you dead. Naruto looked at Minato. Dad, you can't be seriously considering that. Minato had tears in his eyes. I can't protect you, Naruto. My duties to you and my duties to the village are clashing. I have to choose the greater good. If I could die in your stead, I would, but they won't accept me. They demand you. Naruto was speechless. I can't believe this. Minato stood. I'm sorry, Naruto. I'm gonna do everything I can to help you, but you've got to work with me here. Minato walked out. Fugaku called the guards in. Take him to his cell. Sasuke lay there in bed, thinking about it. He had no clue what was going on. Naruto was innocent and Sasuke knew that. Everyone should know that. So what was this talk of a public execution? Why were they even entertaining the idea? Sasuke was so pissed off that he couldn't even see straight. It was then that the mysterious boy who had saved his life during the failed mission to the Land of Waves appeared in his room. Sasuke stood, his Rinnegan active, a kunai in his hand. What are you doing here? Zetsu raised a finger to his lips. Shh, I'm here to help you and your friend. Sasuke snarled. And how is that? The boy continued to speak. Because I know he didn't do anything wrong. That light in the sky earlier today, that was a genjutsu. It was cast by a malevolent entity that seeks power, and to gain it, he needs you and your friend out of the way. Sasuke stood there. And how do I know that you're not the one to blame for this? How do I know that you're not the one causing issues? I know you're part of the reason why my Rinnegan awakened. What's your game? The boy was shocked. Game? I have no game. Did I know that your Rinnegan would awaken? Yeah, but I mean no ill will. You don't understand. You were prophesized to come. You're the reincarnation of Indra Otsutsuki, the son of the Sage of Six Paths. You've come to save not only the Uchiha Clan from danger, but the entire world. Your plan to destroy Ishiki and stop the war. And how do you know any of this? Sasuke asked. The boy smiled. Because I am the incarnation of the Sage's will. I am his Black Zetsu. I live to guide his children through the ages. And when time comes, I intervene on his behalf. I'm sorry I lied to you, but I can really help. That's all I'm here to do. And how can you prove this? Sasuke said. Zetsu took a breath. When someone who possesses the power of samsara approaches the moon, an eye will open that's reflected on the moon to grant the eternal dream. Sasuke was surprised. Those were the words he told to his father when he read the stone tablet. How do you know that? Zetsu smiled. Because I was the one who wrote those words upon the stone. Do you believe me now? Sasuke lowered his guard. All right, I believe you. Good, Zetsu said. Now I need you to do something for me. I need you to break out Naruto from his prison. Together, you and he will need to wait for the tailed beasts to regenerate. If you gather them all and awaken the Ten Tails, you can use the infinite Tsukuyomi to reverse the effects of omnipotence and stop the coming war. Sasuke nodded in understanding. Okay, can I count on you to help? Zetsu offered a slight bow of respect. I will do all in my power to aid in this endeavor. All the while he knelt there, he smiled. Naruto sat in his cell and thought about it. Was it actually possible? Could he have possibly killed all the Jinchuriki without knowing? Maybe some form of mind-body switch technique like the one used by the Yamanakas? He tried to think back on any time he blacked out. Perhaps his memories were false. Perhaps he did those things and then cast a genjutsu over himself to forget? But how could he ever forget killing his mother? And why would he? And even if he did attempt to kill her, would she really have fought back so hard in a way that looked like she was trying to kill him? It just didn't make sense. There was no way he could have done that, right? He sat there thinking. He felt to himself that he might as well accept his fate. It was then that he heard a whisper. Psst, hey! He looked over to see Sasuke standing there in the shadows, along with that same boy they had met in the Land of Waves. Naruto stood and walked over into the light. There, Sasuke could see that Naruto was in a chakra-resistant straitjacket. This jacket was designed for use against strong shinobi. Its fibers could absorb chakra, and it specifically kept hands apart to keep one from casting any ninjutsu. The hands were generally placed into stiff gloves as well. While uncommon, it was possible for a shinobi to be able to weave hand signs with one hand, so those stiff gloves would keep them from doing so. Naruto spoke. Sasuke, what are you doing here? Sasuke began quietly unlocking the door. I'm saving your ass. What does it look like I'm doing? But wait, you'll get in trouble, Naruto exclaimed in a whisper. Who cares? You didn't do anything wrong. Naruto backed up. I'm not so sure. What if I did? Sasuke opened the door. He put his hand on his shoulder. Naruto, I was there during the time that these things were happening. I can corroborate your alibi. You're not crazy. He stepped in and removed Naruto's straitjacket and gloves. Naruto then hugged Sasuke and began to cry into his shoulder. Why is this happening to me? Sasuke pat his head. I have an explanation, but we gotta get out of here, okay? Hurry up, we don't have much time. Naruto and Sasuke would leave the cell and move towards Zetsu. Are we ready to go? Sasuke nodded. Zetsu would create a portal that they would all step through. Once they found themselves outside of the village gates where they proceeded to make a run for it. Once they were far enough away, they sat down to breathe. Sasuke then began to explain to him about Uchiha Otsutsuki, Kara, as well as how they used a genjutsu known as omnipotence to pin their evil deeds on Naruto, and how they could undo the genjutsu if they gathered all 9 beasts and cast the infinite Tsukuyomi. But how are we supposed to get them? Zetsu then chimed in. The Jinchuriki were killed before their beasts could be stripped. Currently, the tailed beasts are all reforming. They're not of the physical realm right now, so we should train and grow stronger until they regenerate. On that day, we'll start gathering them into the Geto statue for Sasuke to absorb. Naruto interjected. But won't a war start? Won't the 4th Shinobi World War be initiated since I haven't been executed? Zetsu thought about it for a moment. Perhaps. But once we've gathered all 9-tailed beasts, then it'll hardly matter. But people will die. What if Dad dies? What if Fugaku or Itachi die? Zetsu stood there silently for a moment. He wasn't sure what to say. Naruto stood. Thanks for caring, guys, but I need to go back. If my death can stop the 4th Shinobi World War, then even if I'm innocent, I'll gladly die for the village. Zetsu was beginning to panic. He couldn't let Naruto go. Naruto was Sasuke's motivation. Without Naruto, Sasuke would lose interest in the infinite Tsukuyomi. He needed to find a way to make Naruto's survival a top priority for the both of them. He spoke up. Naruto, be reasonable. Even if you go back, there's no guarantee that you'll be able to stop the war by dying. Naruto looked back at him. It's better than just letting it happen. At least there's a chance it won't happen then. Zetsu stood. No, even if you sacrifice yourself, Ishiki will merely continue to manipulate events against Konoha. It's his goal to start this war. All the chakra expended in the war will be gathered together to him, and it'll only make him stronger. Zetsu was lying through his teeth. He didn't think that Ishiki had such a technique, but these gullible children would believe anything, so why not pull out all the stops? I need to teach you. I need to help you awaken 6 Paths chakra too. If I can, then you'll be able to help Sasuke, but without you, Sasuke can't destroy Ishiki. He'll die and the world will end. Think this through. You're smart. I know you are. Don't be ruled by your emotions. Use the mind you and I both know you have. Naruto sighed. Fine. He stood there silently for a moment and removed his hidden leaf headband. Sasuke looked to him. What are you doing? Naruto looked to Sasuke. If we're gonna become rogue shinobi, then I want to show that. I don't want any of our actions reflecting on Konoha. Naruto then took a kunai and marked out the Konoha symbol. Sasuke looked down and removed his own. Zetsu watched this occur with a smile. Everything was going according to plan. And that's another chapter down. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm not gonna lie, I might be having a bit too much fun playing the part of Zetsu. All this plotting in the Naruto world makes me feel like a mad genius, even though I can sorta alter events to work in my favor anyway. But it's fun nonetheless. I hope you're having as much fun as I am. If so, please let me know in the comments what your favorite part was and what you might like to see in the future. And until next time, peace.
Did you enjoy our video? Well then be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.